Welcome to the Love Island All-Stars Season 2 Astrology Timeline, alleged and for entertainment purposes only. The original couples were decided by the public vote, so in this version, I decided it by the combined compatibility of each couple. So we still have Naz and Catherine, and we still have Luca and Olivia, but the other couples get mixed up. So we have Scott and Kaz, Elma and Marcel, Ronnie and Gabby, and Curtis and India. So just because they are together in a couple doesn't mean that they like who they're with. So that is where the independent compatibility comes in. Independent compatibility is when you like someone, but it doesn't necessarily mean they like you. So combined compatibility is a better consensus of your overall compatibility with the person. So Catherine likes Luca even though she's with Naz. Naz likes Kaz even though he is with Catherine. Kaz likes Marcel even though she's with Scott. Kaz is Marcel's first choice, though he likes Elma too, who he is with. Ronnie likes Elma even though he's with Gabby. Gabby also likes Marcel. I mean, there's a little bit of history there, so don't act too surprised that the astrology sees it as well, even though she's coupled up with Ronnie. Olivia likes Scott, though she is coupled with Luca. Okay, so please welcome your favorite bombshell, Ekin-Su. Series 8, obviously. There's a couple guys who have crushes on her. We have Naz, and we have Scott as well. Okay, allegedly, this is the astrology. His big Leo ego may never admit this, okay? But there's definitely some compatibility there. And definitely, like, this is what he actually said in the villa, right? He said that she DM'd him. So this might not be the exact wording, okay? But I'm just saying the astrology supports it too. Who will she steal? Independent compatibility. So this is who she likes, not necessarily who's the best overall for her, and vice versa, okay? So her first choice is Scott. So I can steal Scott from Kaz, leaving Kaz single. So sorry, Kaz. New bombshell alert. We have Casey from Series 9. And he gets to go first in the recoupling, just as he did in the show. So he will choose Ekin-Su, his first choice at this point in the show, based on astrology. Curtis, sticking with India. Scott switches back to Kaz since Ekin was taken. Luca's choice, he'll stick with Olivia. Naz, he stays single because he doesn't feel a connection with these ladies. He was karmic with all of them. If it is that incompatible, why even do it? It just doesn't make sense. None of these girls were the right match for him, and I think that's why he was put in such a hard spot, because the astrology does say that. Okay, so Ronnie's choice is Elma. Marcel's choice, Gabby. So there's some similarities to the show. I know they didn't couple up here, but like Ronnie and Elma, for example. There's some truth, there's some threads of similarity to real life. Okay, so the recoupling results are Gabby and Marcel, Kaz and Scott, India and Curtis, Casey and Ekin-Su, Olivia and Luca, Elma and Ronnie. And unfortunately, that means we have Catherine and Naz as single. So not everybody likes where they ended up in their couples, so they're gonna tell you if they're with their first choice or not. Elma is open to getting to know Ronnie, but she still likes Marcel more. Oh, look, another one. We have another bombshell in the villa. It's Tina from Series 2. And who likes Tina? Marcel. Yeah, we might have a bit of a problem. Tina must steal a man. Tina recouples with Scott, just how she did in the show. So I guess the astrology checks out on that. Leaving Kaz single yet again, and unfortunately, the singles do get dumped here because it doesn't make sense to just dump one single. I mean, that would just be weird, right? So I think it would just be best to get rid of all of them here. So goodbye to Naz, Catherine, and Kaz. All Stars is having their bombshell season because 2 new bombshells just entered the villa. Grace from season 11 and Ron from season 9. So Grace might have a little bit of a crush on Ron, but I don't think that they can always couple up with the other bombshell they walk in with. And besides, Ron had to choose first anyway, and I'm so sorry, but Grace was not his first choice. So Ron must break up a couple. So he would choose based off of the independent compatibility. The best girl for him is Tina. Grace must couple up, and she chooses Scott. So these are all of the couples now, and there is a public vote, but we have Grace and Scott and Ron and Tina exempt from voting because they just came in. So in no particular order, here are the safe couples. This is based off of combined compatibility, so overall, how we see them as a couple. Luca and Olivia are safe, and so are Curtis and India, which means the vulnerable couples are Gabby and Marcel, Elma and Ronnie, Casey and Ekin-Su. Unfortunately, out of the 3, Elma and Ronnie are dumped. And I did choose a picture of a wilted rose because he was holding a flower in his first picture, so I thought it was kind of symbolic. That's really sad. I'm so sorry. Room for 2 more? Beep beep. Harriet, you just missed your ex. Montel comes in, series 10. Harriet from season 11. Luca and Harriet have a history, in case y'all didn't know. Not really history, just more like, I guess they were like childhood friends or something. Anyway, their astrology charts are very compatible. Tina says she fancies Montel and would like to know him more. That's based off the astrology. Harriet and Montel must steal an islander, breaking up the couples. Harriet chooses Luca and Montel chooses Tina. Unfortunately, that means Olivia and Ron are now single. Oh no, the public has been voting for their favorite islanders. They are... You guys are gonna freak at this. I also calculated this astrologically by looking at their natal charts. So whoever had the most compatible natal chart with themselves has a more favorable personality. So that's how I based this, okay? Those people were Curtis and Ekin-Su. Now, doesn't this make like 10 times more sense, y'all? I feel like this is who it should have been. But okay, whatever. The vulnerable islanders are, and this is who was the least compatible with themselves based off of their own natal chart, okay? Luca, Montel, Tina, and Grace. Curtis and Ekin-Su must decide who to save. This is based off of their combined compatibility towards each individual. They save Grace, which means that Luca, Montel, and Tina are dumped. Goodbye. Get your suitcase. Freshly single is Harriet, who is so sad that Luca is leaving. And Marcel is really sad to see Tina go, even though he's with Gabby. Ron is also sad to see Tina go. Tina had a lot of fans, what can I say? Cheer up, Ron, we have new faces. Danielle, Series 3, and Sammy from Series 10. Yes, perfect. Ron likes Danielle. And Harriet likes Sammy. Danielle and Sammy must choose the islanders they would like to couple up with. Sammy chooses India. And Danielle chooses Marcel. Which means that Curtis and Gabby are now single. Okay, so once again, I know that you clicked on this video knowing this was astrology, you guys. But I constantly feel the need to remind you, this is based off of the astrology. Okay? There are no biases here. This is a crazy timeline. And I would love to show you in another video how I actually calculate this so you know where it's coming from, but that's another video for another day. We interrupt this program to give you Omar from Series 11. And Grace is crushing. And so is Danielle. Based on the astrology, which you should know. I'm gonna stop saying that because we're gonna assume that it's based on the astrology. That's the whole point of this video. Okay, Omar recouples with Grace. Spicy. Ron couples up with Danielle. Curtis, India, staying strong. Casey, Ekin-Su, also staying strong. Sammy and Olivia, new couple. Scott and Harriet, also a new couple. Which means Gabby and Marcel, yet again. So this is where Scott and Ron left the villa due to quote-unquote not finding love. But astrologically speaking, it wouldn't be right to have them leave here as they see the girls they're with as compatible or more. So I'm not allowing that in this version. Please welcome the last bombshells. Oh, thank God, because there were a lot. Sammy from Series 9 and Chugs from Series 7. So Casey might have a little thing for Sammy. And Ron too. Now they're not gonna outright say it because, you know, ego and everything. But that's why they're on the confessional board. If they're on the confessional board, they like someone. That's just how I make these PowerPoints. It doesn't matter what's coming out their mouth, okay? They're telling on themselves. The public has voted for who they want Sammy and Chugs to couple up with. And this was based off of overall who they'd be best with. So astrologically. And that would be Sammy and Ron. Which is crazy, and I know. Like, no one can really imagine that. Anyway, and Chugs with, you'll never guess, Ekin-Su. Like, what? Yeah. And wouldn't that have been crazy? I mean, especially in this timeline where Ekin-Su and Casey have a thing. And then just to see Casey kind of get, what's the word? Duped a little bit. It's kind of needed just for a second, okay? Just to give that shock value. But I am sad for Danielle. She didn't deserve that. Recoupling time. Ron with Sammy. Curtis and India still going strong. Omar and Grace, loyal. Sammy and Olivia again. Casey gets Ekin back, okay? It was a little heart attack moment, but they came back. Scott and Danielle, which I think is new. And Chugs stays single, not feeling a romantic connection with any of the ladies who are left because he's karmic with both of them. So unfortunately, it just wouldn't make sense to put two people together knowing they're toxic. I'm not gonna do that. So yes, Marcel and Gabby yet again, and that means that Harriet and Chugs are single. And dumped, unfortunately. Okay, so this is the To Be Honest challenge, if you recall. This was a really messy challenge where couples had to vote for each other on who they thought was the most red carpet ready, or the biggest cloud chasers, or the biggest whatever, okay? And they had to vote for the different couples. So the way that I'm going about this, because, you know, in the show, whoever was voted for the most was in the bottom. So the way I went about this was I looked at the compatibility between each of the couples and chose the bottom 3, the least compatible couples overall of all of them. And it took me a really long time, I'm not gonna lie, but I did it. And here are the results. Casey and Ekin-Su, Olivia and Sammy, and Curtis and India are the bottom 3 couples. The public has been quote-unquote voting for which couples to save once again. Okay, it's the astrology. The couple with the least amount of votes will be dumped. Astrology. So the first couple safe is Curtis and India, which means the bottom 2 are Ekin and Casey and Sammy and Olivia. The couple being dumped is Sammy and Olivia. Goodbye. Oh, and Marcel, he's really sad about Olivia leaving because he liked her, so. Boy, focus on your couple. Public vote, here are all the couples. We have Casey and Ekin-Su, Sammy and Ron, Gabby and Marcel, Curtis and India, Scott and Danielle, and Grace and Omar. The bottom 3 vulnerable couples are Scott and Danielle, Casey and Ekin-Su, and Curtis and India, once again decided by combined compatibility. Please welcome back the dumped but not forgotten Islanders. In this version, it's a different bunch than the show. We have Sammy, Olivia, Harriet, Chugs, Luca, Montel, Tina, Elma, Ronnie, Kaz, Catherine, and Naz. So they are going to vote for which couple they would like to dump that they do not want to see into the finale. Sammy's vote, Casey and Ekin-Su. Olivia's vote, also Casey and Ekin-Su. Chugs, Curtis and India. Harriet, also Curtis and India. Kaz, Curtis and India again. Ronnie, Scott and Danielle. Elma, Casey and Ekin-Su. Let's take a look at the scoreboard so far. We have Casey and Ekin-Su with 3 votes, Curtis and India with 3 votes, and Scott and Danielle with 1 vote. With 5 potential votes left, it's still anyone's game. Luca's vote, Casey and Ekin-Su. That's Casey and Ekin-Su with 4 votes. Tina, Casey and Ekin-Su. That's Casey and Ekin-Su with 5 votes. Scott and Danielle are safe because there are only 3 votes left, which would only get them to 4, which is less than Casey and Ekin-Su's at this point. So it is now between Casey and Ekin and Curtis and India. Catherine, this could be the deciding vote. Casey and Ekin-Su, which gives Casey and Ekin-Su 6 votes. With only 2 votes left, Casey and Ekin-Su are dumped from the villa. So close, but so far. Scott would like to say some words about his top pick leaving, astrologically. She's leaving with her head held high, and that's what matters. Some supportive words from Scott. There you go. There you have it. Here are the final 5 couples. Is it what you pictured? Is it what you thought? Are you surprised? Are you mad? Are you happy? I don't know, but this is what I found. In no particular order. So obviously we've come to the finale where the final rankings are based on combined compatibility and who is the most compatible overall. And I'll explain a little more of that as we see who that is. In 5th place is Scott and Danielle. Scott and Danielle are meaningful soul ties. Meaningful soul ties are 3rd tier in compatibility using my Astrology methods for compatibility, which I'll show in another video. The 1st tier is called higher level connections. They are the highest, obviously, and 6 being the lowest, aka karmics. So they're not the most compatible, they're not the least compatible. It's enough to stick around. I like to call them the spicy soul ties because my favorite aspect between the two of them are Sun conjunct Mars in Leo, which is super hot, sexy, and fun. Let's take a look back at their story. They recoupled pretty late in the game. The public questioned their compatibility, which left them in the bottom 3. But in the end, they won over the approval of their gone Islanders, sneaking their way into the finale. And Scott expressed some kind words towards Ekin-Su, who he may or may not have a crush on. Finale results continued. In 4th place is Curtis and India. Curtis and India are meaningful flames. So meaningful flames are 2nd tier in compatibility. So it's a step up from where we were. My favorite aspect between the two of them is Sun conjunct Jupiter, which adds optimism and good vibes all around. I like to call them optimistic flames. Let's take a look at their journey. So their journey started at the beginning when the public voted them together, quote unquote, okay? But that was really based off of the combined astrology. Sammy stole India when he arrived, putting their relationship to the test as Curtis was single. But he got his girl back. They didn't do so hot in the To Be Honest challenge, and they were vulnerable. But after a public voting, they were safe. But they weren't out of the woodworks yet. Another public vote sent them right back to the bottom 3. Thankfully, their dumped Islanders saved them, seeing their potential. Talk about survivors. We have, that first couple where someone had maybe a little crush on someone else that they weren't with, and now we have the survivor couple. Now let's see what else we have, our next story. In 3rd place is Gabby and Marcel. So Gabby and Marcel are also meaningful flames. My favorite aspect between them is Sun conjunct Venus in Capricorn. The couple you see at the gym together, the ones working on their goals, are super ambitious and make each other better. But, I understand there's some history here, so if we don't support this, okay, I'm down. I'm just telling you what the astrology said. That's it, girl. There's some truth to it, right? They have history. I would expect the astrology to be a little bit higher for them. Let's watch their astrological journey this season. Gabby had interest despite being in separate couples. But Marcel chose her. He had eyes for Tina, and then a public vote left them vulnerable shortly after. But thankfully, they survived. Tina was dumped, and Marcel was a little sad about that. And then Danielle stole Marcel from Gabby. And Gabby was newly single. They couldn't catch a break, seriously. But she won him back as they reunited in the recoupling. But Marcel was sad over another girl leaving. He He liked Olivia. You know, they were solid pretty much throughout the whole thing. They came back to each other time and time again and stayed loyal physically for the most part when they had the choice. But the problem is that he wasn't really mentally loyal. He liked other girls, but never really acted on it. Now it's down to the final two couples, Ron and Sammy, and Grace and Omar. But before announcing the 2025 All-Star Astrology winners, let's take a look back at their journeys, starting with Ron and Sammy. Sammy and Ron are soul family, which is a first-tier compatibility as a higher level connection, aka what I call HLCs. So, my favorite aspect between them is Venus conjunct Neptune in Capricorn, which is dreamy, romantic attraction, but also in Capricorn, they have shared ambitions in life. They want some of the same things. What's wrong with wanting money? What's wrong with wanting to accomplish things? You know, you could take this and spin this and say maybe it is a bit of a clout chaser couple type of vibe, but you can't really judge that. We all want bigger and better for ourselves. Doesn't everybody want a piece of fame? Doesn't everybody want money? And together they can accomplish this. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Aligned dreamers. I think that's the best way to put a ribbon on it. Let's watch their journey. The public voted for Sammy to couple up with Ron, and they have been loyal ever since. The end. It's really that simple. So this is a loyal couple. Very unproblematic. Then we have Grace and Omar. Grace and Omar are soul family as well, another HLC connection. Apart from Moon and Rising, everything in their charts are the same and conjunct because they were born within maybe a week or two. I like to call them the mirrored Virgos because they're literally the same person walking around. And if they get in a fight, it's just funny because you're just mad at something that you do too. It's a little silly to see them bicker in real time knowing the astrology behind it, and now you know as well. That Virgo-Virgo connection, what can I say? Let's watch their journey. Grace was crushing on Omar. They were from the same season, and Omar recoupled with her. And that was it. Pretty simple, loyal to the end. Another unproblematic couple in this astrology world, okay? Maybe not what happened in the real world, but here it was unproblematic. It's down to Sammy and Ron and Omar and Grace, and only one of them can win. The moment you've been waiting for. The Love Island All-Stars 2025 astrology winners are Grace and Omar. And in my opinion, they split the money because they're soul family. Of course they're gonna split the money. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you liked this video and are like, damn, who's my twin flame? Who's my soulmate? Like, if you would like to know if you're compatible with someone, I have readings in the description. You can get a birth chart just for you, or you can get a relationship chart as well. But I kind of want to tell you guys how I do the astrology for it, and I use my Astrology method to calculate the compatibility. So if that's something you'd be curious in knowing, just let me know. Bye!